Hi everyone, this is Dori. First I want to say I miss seeing everybody in the library. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy at home, and hopefully we'll be seeing each other before too long. So I wanted to just share with you something that I'm doing today. Today, April 19th, happens to be Greek Easter. And one thing that's traditional during Greek Easter is to dye Easter eggs a dark red color. Last year, I experimented with dyeing the eggs using a little method of onion skins. And it worked pretty well. So I want to try it again this year, and I thought I would share it with you. I know that by the time anyone sees this video that Easter will be long gone, but I thought you might be interested in just seeing how you can get a nice dye using just vegetables at home. I also heard that you should be able to use the same method for dyeing other things such as fabrics. And so I'm also going to experiment today with dyeing a t-shirt just to see how that comes out. So shall we get started? Okay, so first we're going to gather our supplies. To do a dozen eggs, we're going to use 15 yellow onions, Spanish onions. I don't know the science behind why it works, so if anybody out there happens to know, tell us. You'll need some vinegar and your eggs. So I do want to mention that last year when I tried this, I used brown eggs in order to get a darker color. So we only have white. So we're going to do them with white eggs. I imagine that they're not going to come out the kind of real deep red that's traditional, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. And just so you know, I am using a method that I found on a blog right here, Katerina's Cucina. There's a lot of directions out there though, so you can just Google how to do it if you'd like to try it yourself. Okay, so first thing we have to do is remove the skins off the onions because we're only going to use the skins. Okay, so here are the skins of the onions, and I'm totally crying right now because I'm really bad at peeling onions, but I made it. Now we're gonna put the eggs aside, and this is the bag of naked onions I have left over. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator. Later today, my daughter and I are gonna figure out what we can make with 15 onions. But for now, first thing we have to do is make the dye. So we'll need our vinegar and the onions. So here we have a large pot with 4.5 cups of water in it. And right here is 2 tablespoons of vinegar. So we have the onion skins in the water. We are gonna turn on the heat. Hopefully, there we go. That is on high, and we're gonna bring it to a boil. Once it starts to boil, then we're going to lower the heat and simmer for 30 minutes. Okay, so my alarm just went off, my 30-minute alarm. So I'm going to turn off the heat. Let's take a look. Ooh, you can see we've got like a nice brownish red color there. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is strain this. Okay, so I emptied the liquid with the onion skins into the colander, and right now I'm just squeezing out as much of the liquid as I can. Okay, I'm going to discard this. A little bit worried that didn't seem to make as much dye as I thought, so I hope I have enough. I probably will. Anyway, now we need to let the dye cool down to room temperature because when we boil the eggs in it, we want to start with cool water. While my dye is cooling, I went ahead and thoroughly washed the eggs because you want to make sure there's nothing on the eggs to dye them. And I'm going to put them in a pot. I decided to switch to a smaller pot just because I want to make sure that the amount of dye I have thoroughly covers the eggs. Remember I said I'm gonna experiment with dyeing a t-shirt as well. So here I have a t-shirt ready to go. First though, I'm gonna dye the eggs, and then after I'm done with that, I'm gonna save the dye and do the t-shirt. Here we are. As I was worried, the liquid didn't completely cover the eggs. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more water just to get the eggs covered. And that's probably gonna dilute the dye a little bit, but oh well. So now we are going to turn the heat on and wait for the eggs to come to a boil. Okay, sounds like the eggs are boiling. Yep, they're starting to boil. So we are going to turn down the heat to simmer, and we're gonna let them simmer for 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and then we're gonna check the color of the eggs. Okay, so unfortunately I have some bad news. I thought I got this part on video, but it turns out it didn't record, so I apologize about that. When I went and checked the color of the eggs when it was almost done simmering, I was disappointed to see that they looked much more brown than red. But I was really disappointed, and I decided I really wanted some red eggs. So I decided to go off plan and add a little food coloring to the water. So I just used basic Wilton gel food colors. This is the red. I did just add a squirt into the water just to give it a little more red. So it's not gonna be completely made from onion skins. There is a squirt of red food coloring in there. So the timer went off. So first I'm gonna remove the pot from the heat because I don't want them to cook anymore. Ooh, they look pretty red. Ooh, those actually look pretty good. I don't want them to cook anymore, but I think I'm going to leave them in the water to cool down for a little while and maybe even see if they get any darker. Okay, so I decided to take the eggs out, and I think they look really great. They came out looking a lot better than I thought. But now, I'm not done yet. I'm gonna put oil on them, but before I do that, I'm just going to put my t-shirt in the pot with the dye, and then I'm gonna heat this and see what happens there. Okay, so here is the finished product, and I think they look really nice and dark red. So I took some olive oil and just used a paper towel and some olive oil and rubbed each egg. Now, I know I did not do this just using the onion skins, as I said I was going to, but I will say in the past I've tried dyeing eggs using just food coloring, and I don't get nearly as dark a color. So actually, I am really pleased with what happened with the combination of the onion skins and the red food coloring, because I got a really nice dark red eggs like we really like for Grease Keister. So that's it. Now back to the t-shirt. I had it sitting in the warm dye for about 20 minutes. And I'm just gonna let it sit for several hours and then wash it tonight and see what happens. And now here's the t-shirt. So it came out kind of a pinkish red, kind of pink with streaks of orange in it. It's not evenly dyed. I don't know if that's because of the dye I used or because it was just scrunched up in the pan. I'm gonna guess because it was scrunched up in the pan. But it's kind of cool. Would make a good tie-dye, I think. So this is after thoroughly rinsing it and then drying it in the dryer. And here's the back. See? Kind of a cool tie-dye effect. I may make some masks out of this. So thank you so much for watching. Oh, and if you are curious about what we did with the leftover onions, we ended up making oven-baked onion rings, and they were pretty yummy. Here's a picture. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.